Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to the Sharp Corner, YouTube's only channel that consistently produces Mario Strikers Battle League competitive online gameplay footage, as well as other videos such as this one. I'm your host, The Sharp. I want to welcome you back to another episode. As the title of this episode suggests, I've been wondering, as many of you have, whether or not Mario Strikers is going to receive another DLC. As all of us know, shortly after the game was released, we received 3 free DLCs, which included additional characters, stages, gear, and now the question that's been on all of our mind is whether or not there's going to be a paid DLC, which is going to add even more content. Now, you probably clicked on this video and you're wondering, does the Sharp have some inside info? Does he know somebody in game development who can tell us whether or not we will or will not receive another DLC? And I do have an answer to that question, and that answer is no, I don't. But I'll tell you what I do have. I do have what I believe to be concrete reasons as to why we will receive another DLC, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So in this video, it's going to be broken up into 3 parts. First part, I'm going to tell you why I think for sure we're going to receive another DLC. For the second part, I'm going to tell you when I think that DLC is going to be released. And for the third part, I want to go over what I believe will be included in that DLC. What stages, what gear, and what characters. Of course, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button to help support the channel. And I also want to hear in your comments below whether or not you agree with the conclusions that I'm about to provide. But in any event, I'm glad to have you here, and I hope you enjoy this episode. So here's why I think we're going to get another DLC. There's a YouTuber named Pretendo who released a video about a year ago, and I have a link to this video in the description of this episode. And it was mainly about content that was going to be added to the game. Now keep in mind that this video was released before any of the free DLCs came out. Apparently, searching through the source code, fans were able to find mention of 10 additional characters that were going to be added to the game later on. Now since then, we've only received 6, which means that there are 4 left to be added. Now to me, that's pretty compelling. Why put that in the source code if you weren't going to add the characters? And that leads to my second reason as to why I believe that we're going to get a DLC. When you look at the gear list, we have 2 spots where additional sets of gear would fit perfectly. In each row, you have 3 sets of gear, except for this one. Now it seems to me that we need 2 more sets so that everything will be symmetrical and match up. In the past, with every 2 players that were added, we were also given a new gear set. So if 4 players are yet to be added, that would mean 2 more sets of gear, which would fill these 2 spaces perfectly. Is that a coincidence? I'm not so sure. The third reason why I think we're going to get another DLC is because of the emphasis on the previous 3, which was that they were free. These were free DLCs. That's always where the emphasis was placed. Now this could lead us to believe that there will be another DLC or 2 new DLCs, but they're going to be paid. You're going to have to pay for them. They're not going to be free. Now, some YouTubers have scoffed at that idea and have claimed that that is no indication that Mario Strikers Battle League is going to get a paid DLC because there are other games that received free DLCs and the emphasis was on free, and they never received a paid DLC. But consider my fourth reason. If you look at the numbers, Mario Strikers Battle League has it's been a decent selling game for the Nintendo Switch. According to Wikipedia, it's the 42nd best-selling game on Switch with 2.5 million copies sold in total. Now, as we know, there's a lot of people who didn't stick with the game, and if you've seen all the videos of people who were in great anticipation of this game being released, and then they were horrifically disappointed when it came out, what was their number 1 complaint? Lack of content. Specifically, there weren't enough characters. I mean, that's a true complaint. There were 13 players in Mario Strikers, the very first game in the season. There were 20 characters in Mario Strikers Charged, and right now we've only got 16. So if we had 4 more added, we'd have a total of 20, which at least matches the number of characters that was in the last game of the series. So for all these reasons, I think Mario Strikers Battle League is going to get another DLC, which is going to include either 1 DLC with 4 characters, 2 new stages and 2 new sets of gear, or there's going to be 2 DLCs, both paid, and in each one you're going to get 2 characters, 1 new stage, and 1 new set of gear. This is what I got. This is why I think we're going to get a new DLC. The obvious question is that if we are going to get a new DLC, when do you suspect that it's going to come out? Well, if you remember, the date that the game was released was June 10th, 2022. I think it would be kind of a good idea to start releasing these paid DLCs as part of the anniversary of the game's original release date. But given the fact that it's June right now and no announcement has been made, I feel pretty certain that it's not going to be in June. The last DLC was released on December 13th. So, since it's not going to happen in June, if I had to guess, it would make sense for December to be the release date because it would be the 1-year anniversary since the last update, and it could generate a little bit of that holiday revenue for Nintendo. Now again, this is all just a guess, this is all speculation, but if I had to guess, I would say that we're going to have the DLC or DLCs by the end of 2023. If we don't have it by the end of 2023, I would throw this whole thing out the window and say we're not going to get one, but if we are, it would be this year. So for the last part of this episode, I'm just going to talk about what could be included in the DLC. If the release pattern holds, we know that we're going to get at least 2 more stadiums. I don't know what these stadiums could be, but I think a safe bet would be some sort of water type stadium. Not necessarily one that is underwater, but something that matches the theme of water. As you know, water stages, we can track those back all the way back to Super Mario Bros. 1. Now that's a very wild guess, and because that's such a wild guess, I won't even begin to speculate what the other stadium might be. But I think it's to say that, you know, there will be 2 in the releases. In terms of gear, I'd kind of like to see some cat gear. You know, we saw it in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which was wildly successful. So why not try to tap into that a little bit to help bring some attention to Mario Strikers Battle League, get a few more sales? Like the stadium prediction, this is all just speculation with absolutely no basis. So I won't even begin to predict what gear might be included, but I do have some thoughts on the characters we might see in the DLCs. Okay, so if we got a new DLC, what characters would we get? Well, the characters that we're missing from, which were in Mario Strikers Charge are Boo, Monty Mole, Koopa Troopa, Hammer Brothers, Dry Bones, and Petey Piranha. Now, obviously, we're not going to get all those because we only have 4 characters left to be added, according to the source code. But here's who I think we are going to get. First, I think we're going to get 2 more sidekicks. These players that you can have multiple of on the field at the same time. Now, right now, we only have 3 sidekicks: Toad, Yoshi, and Shy Guy. And at their base stats, Yoshi's really good at shooting and passing. Toad's really good at speed and passing. Shy Guy, he's just kind of that all-around character. With that in mind, one character I think that's going to be added is Hammer Brothers. And I think he's going to be a sidekick, meaning you're going to be able to have multiple of him on the field at the same time. Now, when it comes to his stats, I think his base stats are going to be very Bowser-like, with a focus being on strength and shooting, which would give us kind of a nice mix of base stats for these sidekick characters. The second character I believe that would be added, which is a sure bet, would be Koopa Troopa. And unlike Hammer Brothers, he's going to be a sidekick where you're going to have multiple of him on the field at the same time. And if we're mixing up the strengths of the sidekicks, when it comes to their base stats, my prediction is that his base stats would favor speed and technique. But let's get to the mains. Personally, I think Petey Piranha is a sure thing. Now, there are characters in the game that I refer to as big guys because, not necessarily because they're all guys or because they're all big, but their focus is on strength. Bowser is one of them. His focus is on strength and shooting, and he's got a bit of speed. Wario is another. And his focus is on strength and shooting with a bit of passing. Pauline has strength and speed. Donkey Kong's focus is on strength and passing. Waluigi's strengths are strength, speed, and technique. My prediction with Petey Piranha is that he's going to have really high strength, he's going to have good shooting, he's going to have good passing, putting the ball in his mouth and just sending it to a teammate or into the goal. But I predict that his speed's going to be terrible, as will be his technique. But now comes for the final addition that I'd like to predict, and this is a Hail Mary, this is a long shot, this is a wild card. But I'd like to see Link added to the roster as the final addition. Link. Why Link? Well, because I think it would benefit the game greatly, but for several reasons. First, with Tears of the Kingdom recently being released, Link's popularity is at like an all-time high. So why not use that, that potential to spark new life into the game? Second, Nintendo's most popular games are those that mix the franchises, like Mario Kart, the best-selling game on Nintendo Switch, and Super Smash Bros. Again, these are games that mix characters from different franchises. So why not take that winning formula and pump it into Mario Strikers Battle League? Now, one of the reasons that it might not happen, and this is the main reason that it probably won't happen, is because Mario Strikers games have always just used Mario-based characters. So the question is, well, why would they start now? Well, they always start at some point. And I think by adding Link, it would attract more players and help those sales. Now, what would his stats be? It's hard to say, but I think he would probably be one of these all-around really good characters, kind of like Mario, but he would have a focus on strength and shooting and passing. Now, again, this is a very wild guess. This is a very long shot, but honestly, Link in Mario Strikers Battle League. How cool would that be? So what do you think of these predictions? Are we going to have another DLC? Are we going to have 2 more DLCs? When will it happen and who's going to be added? I'd love to see your thoughts in the comments below. One thing we do know is that time will tell whether or not any of this is ever going to come to fruition. But for now, I appreciate you tuning in, and please hit that subscribe button to help support the channel. I'll catch you next episode. I'm The Sharp, and I'm out.